Hello good people, I'm Dmitry. Let's get straight to the point. The Lian Li O11 Air Mini was a fairly big disappointment because we were promised fantastic airflow that rivals the Lanco 2 mesh performance, but instead we got something that was not performing very well. As a case, it was great, but in terms of the front metal mesh and the metal mesh around the case, something went wrong. In my original review, the GPU temperatures were pretty average, but the CPU temperature really suffered. And so Lian Li paused the sales, paused the pre-orders in order to find out exactly what went wrong. And so they could deliver us a product that they were happy with and not something that has air in the name but performs really poorly by default. So in this video, let's talk about a few things. Number one is how do the new panels perform versus the old panels. Number two is some technical information, nerdiness that comes about designing a metal mesh from Lian Li, so like pitch size, radius, diameter, all that stuff. And number three is what did this mean for Lian Li and how could this be rectified in the future, because they actually shipped out 8,000 cases before they made this recall and decided to revise the front panel, or actually all the panels, to make sure that the metal mesh is exactly what they intended to ship. So yes, it was a very expensive mistake from Lian Li, but I'm glad that we are where we are right now with these new panels, because the performance is exactly what we were promised originally. So let's talk about all those things right after this. The NZXT capsule microphone. Get the best airflow for your vocal experience with a modular pop-out chamber to simplify installation on and off the bass. Control the gain for best volume RPM in a package that looks this good with USB-C and headphone input I/O with a true unbox, plug-and-play solution for your loud thoughts to shine. The capsule sounds pretty neutral as you can hear, plus it's a good place to start if you plan to overclock with EQ later. Check out the NZXT capsule black or white down below. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about why this metal mesh approach is important. Number one, it eliminates the need for a dust filter. So no longer do you have an additional barrier behind the frame, and the holes need to be large enough for airflow to pass through freely, but also small enough to eliminate all that additional dust intake too. If you have not seen our review, check it out over here, but to foreshadow what's to come is the slogan for the O11 Air Mini of modular design and extreme airflow is now 100% valid. So when we look at the side-by-side between the new panel and the old panel, you can see a few things. Clearly the holes are bigger to allow better airflow. We have slightly less space between each hole, so the pitch size has also decreased. You can actually see how much extra light is being let through from the holes because the background is identical color, but it's so much darker on the old panel. So not only do we have this airflow restriction, but it's also visually demonstrated on how less room there is for airflow to pass with light as well. So how did this happen? How did Lian Li ship out 8,000 cases without realizing this issue? So first of all, without a macro lens, it's actually quite difficult to see the difference. With a naked eye, they look very similar. And so I could see how quality control of something like this could easily be bypassed, but also it was an expensive mistake, and perhaps this is a really good learning opportunity for not just Lian Li, but for every case manufacturer moving forward. But we are told that when Lian Li provides these sheets of metal of 0.8mm steel to another company that actually makes the hole punches, that's when things went wrong. The hole punching company decided to slightly modify the specifications that Lian Li gave them. So, you know, there's our scapegoat, and they made the pitch size slightly bigger and the holes slightly smaller in order to preserve the rigidity of the panel itself. And then you add on top of that the power coating that also minimizes the hole size, and that's how we got to where we did. So it's really interesting to see the actual technical differences between the old panel and the new, and how much extra airflow you get with this very minor modification. So the porosity is now 40% instead of around 25 on the old model, and that makes a huge difference. So with this new panel, I can blow through and I can feel the air coming on the other side. Sure, there's still some restriction, and sure, there's still some airflow turbulence because this still is a metal mesh and it's made to be this way so that it's still rigid enough even in its new state. But on the older panels, whenever I was to blow through through the panel, I could not feel anything coming on the other side. So obviously having this expansion of the diameter on the new panels helps significantly improve airflow. What this means for temperatures is, of course, a significant improvement in performance for our CPU low temperatures, so a 5 degrees Celsius reduction. So we go from 78 to 73 with my exact configuration, and I made sure to retest with the older panels to make sure that everything matches to my original previous result and everything matches exactly. So now the O11 Air Mini performs very similar to the Lenco 2 Mesh, which is a chart topper, and so is the O11 Air Mini. When it comes to GPU temperatures, we have a nice reduction of 2 degrees, going from 75 to 73. This makes sense. The panel is now more open, and both fans, because of how they're positioned, deliver both good airflow for the CPU cooler and good airflow for the GPU as well. And now with the O11 Air Mini fixed, this means the entire case portfolio from Lian Li is very competitive. So there's the Lenco 2 Mesh for high performance, there's the Lenco 215 for budget performance, the entire O11 series is kind of best in class for dual chamber category, and then the brand new Q58 ITX enclosure that is very optimized for SFF enthusiasts with all the usual checkmark features you'd expect in, something of the size, with Gen 3 or Gen 4 riser cable options directly from Lian Li, which is a huge positive, and that makes the entire top to bottom stack of cases really diverse, which is a very advantageous position to be in for Lian Li. I feel like Lian Li's response here is justified, even though we had to wait additional few months for this issue to be sort of resolved. This is the right way forward, and it's going to be a very expensive recall revision thing for Lian Li, given how many cases were already on their way to retailers and distributors, but that's the way it should be done. Look at this eye candy. Lexar's new Hades RGB DDR4 memory kit adds some beauty to your system with sweet color diffusion and performance too, with an aluminum heatsink and proper XMP 2.0 and Ryzen profiles for hassle-free gaming. Learn more down below. Alright, so what do you think of this whole situation with Lian Li? Let me know in the comments, check out this other relevant content, subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next video.